The scripture says that the righteous shall live by faith. For the longest, I did not know what that meant. I'm thinking it's just another scripture that sounds good. But then God was showing me like how everything runs through faith, right? What you're willing to sacrifice, surrendering to God, right? Obeying him. Even forgiveness takes faith. You have to believe that your value, right, isn't determined by what happened. You have to minimize the situation by pitying the offender. You have to literally believe in the purpose and power of forgiveness, right? And that goes back to believing in God's promises, right? Believing that God is taking you to higher places in him. You got to believe and know that it sets you free to do what God told you to do, right? Forgiveness holds you back, right? It keeps you in bondage. It keeps replaying the offense over and over and over again. This video ain't specifically just about forgiveness, but I feel led to touch on that. Live by faith, right? Everything runs through faith. Right, touched on forgiveness again, right? Because God determined that our value isn't determined by our sinful past, right? So who are we to determine someone else's value is determined by what they do or have done to us? We can't. That's not our place. We don't know what will come of that person, what will become of that person. Us being willing to forgive them can help set them free. Because ultimately, what it comes down to, it says that now the time is coming where true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. What it comes down to is who really believes God is who he says he is and who doesn't. Who just likes the title. Who just likes putting him in their bio. Who just likes quoting certain scriptures or applying certain scriptures to their life, right? But doesn't really want to understand why. You know, that's the difference between, you know, the people that God made sure that their life was written about, right? That was scribed about, was the people that were like, why did God do this? Where was his heart when he did this? What were his intentions, right? What is God's purposes? What is God's plans? And when they saw it, God opened their eyes, let them see. They were like, wow, he is amazing. I understand. That's love. That's deep love. That's incredible wisdom. Right? How unsearchable are his ways. But then you got the Pharisees that don't understand it's about faith. And they're lifted up in pride because they look to their works, right? And when you look to your works, you begin to associate that with accomplishments, right? And then you begin to tell yourself that you're doing God a service, right? Yes, you do works through faith, right? Through faithful works, but that doesn't mean that God's like, you know what I'm saying? God's pleased with the works. He's pleased with the faith that allowed him to empower you to do the works, because it's God's love in you that empowers you to do the work that he wants done anyway.